What if Constantinople had held for 100 more years? Would Europe have remained in darkness? Would Columbus have ever sailed? And would the world we know even exist? This is Divergence Point. On May 29, 1453, after a siege that lasted 53 days, the walls of Constantinople fell. The last emperor of Rome, Constantine XI, removed his imperial purple and joined his soldiers in the final defense. He was never seen again. The great church of Hagia Sophia, which had stood for over 900 years as a beacon of Christian learning and art, was converted into a mosque. And with that, the Roman Empire, founded by Augustus in 27 BC, came to an end. But the fall of Constantinople was more than the death of an empire. It was the closing of a door that had connected East and West for over 1,000 years. For centuries, Constantinople had been the guardian of ancient knowledge. While Europe slept through its so-called Dark Ages, Byzantine scholars preserved the works of Plato, Aristotle, Euclid, and Galen. They copied manuscripts by hand. They taught philosophy in schools that never closed. They were not just rulers of a city, they were the librarians of civilization. When the city fell, those librarians fled. Hundreds of scholars, artists, and scientists escaped to Italy, carrying with them trunks full of Greek manuscripts. In Florence, Venice, and Rome, they found eager students, men like Cosimo de' Medici, who funded the first public library of Greek texts in the West. They taught a new generation to read Plato in the original, and from those lessons, the Renaissance was born. But that was only half the story. The Ottoman conquest also closed the land routes between Europe and Asia. For the first time in centuries, spices, silk, and paper could no longer flow freely from the East. Prices soared, supply chains broke, and Europe, desperate for alternatives, turned to the sea. Portugal began sailing down the coast of Africa. Spain funded a Genoese sailor named Columbus to sail west. Within 50 years, the age of exploration had begun. Not out of curiosity, but out of necessity. Without the fall of Constantinople, there would have been no urgent need to find a new route to India. No Columbus, no Da Gama, no global empires. Now, imagine a different path. What if Mehmed the Conqueror had failed in 1453? What if the walls had held? What if Constantinople had survived until 1553? In this alternate world, the land routes remained open. Spices arrive in Venice as they always did. There is no crisis in trade, and Europe has no reason to risk its ships on the unknown ocean. The scholars of Byzantium continue their work, but slowly, within the confines of a shrinking empire. Their knowledge trickles west, but not in a flood. The Renaissance, if it comes at all, arrives decades later, softer, quieter, less revolutionary. The Catholic Church retains its grip on thought. Without the shock of new worlds and new ideas, the Reformation may never ignite. Science remains tied to theology, and the printing press, though invented, spreads slowly because there is no urgent demand for books that challenge the old order. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire, facing a strong Christian bastion in the Bosphorus, focuses inward. It never fully controls the Eastern Mediterranean. Trade continues, but under shared rules. And the East does not fall into the long silence that followed the real 1453. But here's the paradox. In our world, the fall of Constantinople was a tragedy for Byzantium, but a catalyst for the modern age. In the alternate world, its survival preserves an ancient order, but delays the birth of the new. We often think of history as a story of heroes and villains, but sometimes it's a story of timing, of a city that fell just when the world needed it to fall, so that something new could rise from its ashes. Today, we live in the world shaped by that collapse. A world of global trade, scientific revolution, and restless exploration. But we also live with its shadows: colonialism, cultural erasure, and the myth that Europe rose alone. The truth is more complex. Europe did not awaken by itself. It was awakened by refugees, men who carried the light of a dying empire in their hands and lit a fire in a continent that had forgotten how to dream. So the next time you read Plato, sail a map, or question an old belief, remember, you are living in the world that was born the day Constantinople fell. This is Divergence Point. The questions we explore here at Divergence Point are complex, but they are the ones that will define our future. If you believe this conversation is important and want to be part of a community that isn't afraid to ask the big what ifs, then consider subscribing to our channel. Activate the notification bell so you never miss the next divergence point in our journey. We have so much more to explore together. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and take care.